Hey everyone, what's up? It is Nasir. Welcome to my channel. Today we're actually gonna do a quick little interview with one of my good friends from college named Rafaela. She actually just spent the year abroad in France teaching English to French children and teenagers, which is pretty cool. And the program she did is called Tapif, and we're about to get the lowdown on her whole experience.
I look like I have no teeth. Oh goodness.
Okay, who Zoom? Who did this? Who? Okay. Hello, Rafaela. Okay.
Okay, I'm just gonna stop smiling.
Okay. Hey Rafaela, thanks for joining. The whole time I'm just gonna be looking at your little Zoom teeth.
Yo, I'm like literally 6 years old again.
Okay, so let's just get right into it. So, your experience, Tapif, you just got back, you were killing the game, you were abroad in France for a year or so. And for those who don't know, Tapif is basically a teaching assistant program in France where English speakers go and teach English to French students from what ages? Is it like 11 to 18 or something?
Actually, it's even before that, because you can even work in an elementary or primaire. So the students are like from 5
Wow.
until, yeah, you work with students from 5 to 17, 18. I actually had a 24-year-old student in my class. So if you don't pass that final exam in France, you have to stay an extra year until you pass. So yeah.
Okay, so to walk us through what your day-to-day looked like in what town in France were you in, by the way?
So I was living in Valenciennes, but I was teaching in Le Quesnoy. So Le Quesnoy was just about 15 minutes away by train. Um, so yeah, my day to day looked like I worked every day. So I would get up, get dressed and stuff like that. And sometimes it depends. Like I didn't have because I really don't even understand the French education system in general, but sometimes your schedule can be a little bit off. Like you'll work from 8 a.m. all the way to 5, but have breaks in between. But then like the next day, you're only working 2 hours and like you start at like 12 or 1. So that's basically it. But usually every single day I would wake up like about 3 hours before because the train schedules were just a little bit off with my own schedule. So that's like basically what I did: get up, get dressed, kind of wait a while, take the train, go straight into class, and then have like a break or so. The French love their breaks. They really despise working. So I would have like a whole like break, and then sometimes in between classes, which is interesting, they'll have like a 15-minute break before class starts,
Oh,
or a 10-minute break. Like they just love their breaks. So yeah, and once I was finishing my classes, I would just take the train and go straight home.
okay, that's exciting.
Yeah.
And so, in terms of supporting yourself, because I believe this role is a part-time position, so what did compensation look like? And did you have any side hustles while you were there?
So yeah, the great thing about Tapif was that like you only work 12 hours a week, and that's great. It's nice, it's amazing on paper, because let's say okay, you work 12 hours a week, that's not a lot of hours. So the salary ends up being only 785
Hmm.
after taxes. So yeah, your salary is supposed to be 900, but taxes come around and you only get paid 785. So that's not a lot of money to survive on the month. It's not enough money to go traveling. Um, and to be honest, yeah, you can get like a discount card, but it's still expensive to live in France because food, transportation, and all that stuff. So I had to side hustle. I did some freelance illustrating, some freelance writing on the side, just to make a little bit of extra money. But even that also wasn't enough. So I had to work with what I had.
Yeah. And before going, because I know, like, for example, I studied abroad in France back in 2016, and I literally went with like $800 waiting for hoping that like my government refund check would come. So it's, how much money did you go to France with?
I started out with $1,500 because I told you I didn't work over the summer until like literally the last minute. I had about like 1,800 in the beginning, and then my ticket. I forgot about my ticket, and so I spent $300 trying to get to Paris, and then I got to Paris, and then I was like, wait, I have to go to Valenciennes, and that's like an hour away by train. but because of last minute, I had to spend another 70 like euros. So yeah, I started with about like 1,500, and I had to work with what I had for 2 months.
Okay. And you said it's 2 months because I believe you said before that your payment was delayed.
Yeah, so you'll get there like at the end of September. And usually you spend your money on like essentials and stuff like that. But then you have to wait like, and it's not like you get your payment in the beginning of October. It's like the end. It's like basically November you get it. So
Yeah.
yeah. And if you don't get, and that's the thing too, like if you don't get your bank account or your housing figured out on time, forget it. Like you won't get like your money on time.
Mm. Okay, so knowing what you know now, what are a few words of wisdom for other people who are getting ready to go to France this fall to do the Tapif program?
uh, Save your money. Research where you're going to be. Like, sometimes like we're kind of like, okay, I'm going to France, and we only think of like the big cities, and we don't really, think about the suburbs. We
Mm.
don't think of, and it's like the same thing with like the States. People come, they're like New York, Miami, Los Angeles, and then they're like, okay, but yeah, exactly. Like, oh my God, like it is a whole different world. So I didn't really think about that.
Mm.
And yeah, so really, really research where you're gonna live at, because you'll get placed. And once you get placed, research, find out how you're gonna get to work, talk to past assistants if that's available, that type of thing.
Okay, love it. And I know, I believe from like what I was checking, like there are a bunch of Reddit groups and a bunch of Facebook groups with other assistants. So like to connect on those
Yeah.
would be valuable. But okay, so seeing that you were in a more small town in France, what was your experience like specifically being a Black woman?
Mm. Actually, so interesting. Like this time around, because like Belgium was like a whole different world, but being in France, like the actual first time living there and actually really being immersed in the culture there, it wasn't as bad. To be honest, I didn't really think much about my skin color.
Hmm.
Um, and to be quite frank, I really didn't think too much about my skin color at all. They have a different approach to it. I mean, yes, of course, I'm still Black, but like when I see the police, I'm not scared.
Yeah.
Like the only thing that kind of like always reminded me that I was Black was when I would see another Black person,
You're like, wait.
and then I'm like, oh, and then I look at them and I'd be like, all right, okay, like I'm not alone. But yeah, like being there, I wasn't really reminded of my race as much as I am, in the States. I will say though, there was an experience when I was actually first starting out, and one of my English professors that I was helping out with, like she asked me to do a presentation on myself. So I did the whole presentation, talked about my history, being Haitian, my parents being immigrants and stuff like that. And the professor opened, the floor up for questions. And like, nobody really asks questions because I mean, asking a question in a foreign language is kind of like it's anxiety prone. You're like, wait, what if I make a mistake and all that stuff. So yeah, I was pretty patient with that. And so instead, the professor started asking questions, and there was a point where she asked me, she's like, have you ever endured any racism? Because Trump being president, we see a lot of police brutality videos and all that stuff. Like, have you firsthand experienced that? And I was sitting in front of the classroom, like, so appalled because I've never been, not interrogated, but like asked, like, bluntly asked that. Like, I've never, ever. I just felt like I was on the spot.
Yeah.
And I just told her, I was like, well, like my childhood was, a little bit, I would say I was privileged because I never had to experience firsthand racism. So I told her, I was like, I don't really, have that experience. I don't have the expertise to really speak for anybody. And that's when after that, that's when I felt like, yeah, I am Black. This is the experience. This is the microaggression I'm totally feeling like, so yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I mainly asked that question because I feel like a lot of travelers or people who want to travel, like that's one of the main questions is like, is it okay to go for me to go there as a Black person? Anti-Blackness and homophobia and everything and misogyny are global, but each place is different with its approach. So I think it's always interesting when I talk to Black people from the US who are like, I don't want to go there because X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, honey,
Yeah.
like, we got it the worst here.
Right, right, exactly. It's like we deal with different brands of racism. Like we have like, okay, I'm gonna just use sodas. I feel like the worst soda, in my opinion, is Sierra Mist. We
Oh,
have like the Sierra Mist. Yo, Sierra Mist is horrible. But then
really?
you go to like, yeah, but then you go to like France and it's Pepsi. And
Mm.
you're like, like that it's the same. Like they're all soda, but it's different, like it's not like, and that's the thing, like, when I first started traveling, I was like, damn, like I ain't never coming back here. And then I went to another country and it was like the same thing, but different taste, different flavor. And that's when I was like, you know what? It's everywhere and that's not gonna stop me from traveling.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I really, really love that. So when you were in your town, did you ever make it to Paris or did you ever do any weekend trips or any like that thing like that? Or were you mainly in Valenciennes?
I was mainly in Valenciennes. I didn't have money to go to Paris. It's actually quite interesting. I loved Paris the first time I went, but like I didn't really feel like going the second time around. I was kind of like, all right, I already seen everything. It's Paris.
Mm. No, I feel you.
Yeah.
I feel you.
But I
But
did travel around. Oh, sorry.
oh no, you're good.
um,
I have a lag. It's my fault. Go
but I did travel around the north of France more. Actually, I really wanted to see the region. To be quite honest, the north of France is really, people are very genuine and so nice. Like, gosh, so nice. It just sucks that the weather is just crappy. But I did travel around the north of France more frequently. And I just basically tried to do that just to get a feel for the culture. It's a lot quite like Flemish Belgium
Hmm.
in a sense, yeah.
Okay. All right. And in your town specifically, as a teaching assistant, were you a friend? Sorry, were you friends with other teachers, or did you make friends like on Facebook groups, or like how did you make friends?
So the second day of being in trans, I joined a Facebook group, and what's interesting about like Tapif, they have like Facebook groups for each academy. So I just messaged like, hey, I'm in Valenciennes. Is anybody there? I just got here, da da da. And one assistant messaged me and was like, "Hey, we have a Valencian chat. I'll add you in." And that's how I made friends. At my school, my professor, she was like she was like basically like point of reference and everything because like my French at the time wasn't as great, and it wasn't till I was very timid
Mm.
and comfortable in like speaking English. So she was always like translating for me and stuff and like speaking for me. So yeah, but she would introduce me to the teachers, and the teachers, even though like they didn't really speak French as much, they were so welcoming and very nice. And every single time they saw me, they always said bonjour and asked me how I'm doing and stuff. Just like quick combo. Yeah, and that's it. I did use Tinder for a while, but then I was like, no. Just
What
for friends, and I was like, you know what?
was it?
No.
What was it about Tinder there that you didn't love?
uh the most of the microaggressions definitely did come from there. Like, oh wow, this girl's black and then she's from America. Let's see what it's about.
On a scale from 1 to 10, how would you rate your experience, and how would you recommend it to other people?
Oof. Wow, rating my experience. Okay, can I like okay, before quarantine? Okay, so before quarantine, I'm not gonna lie, it was a solid 5. Oh, solid 5. But then it got better. It got amazing when quarantine started. So overall, like I give it a whole 8 just because of quarantine. It really saved it. Um, the reason why I said 5 in the beginning was because um, as much as like I had the hookup with my rent, and my prof was a little bit helpful. She wasn't the best, you know. She was really rude. She was like, you know, the polite rude, passive aggressive, and you know, I had to work every single day, so it cut down my travel time completely. Like if I wanted to leave on Friday, I'd have to leave like immediately afterward. I have to bring my suitcase and stuff, and then like by the time I get to the place where destination, it's time to go to sleep or whatever, and then have like Saturday, and then Sunday I have to go back. So it's basically just one day, you know. And then there were like other assistants that, you know, had 2 days off. Like it was recommended you have like 2 days off because you're only working 12 days. She didn't give me any flexible and like changing my schedule, so that made it hard. Sometimes she was very rude too, and the strikes made it worse. So sometimes she would be like, "I'm leaving," and I'd be like, "I'm outside of your house," like, she would like rush me and stuff. So there was like sometimes like that. I was like, this is ridiculous. Financially, it was hard because like the salary didn't work out. And actually, end of November for like my December basically, they gave me 2 salaries and they didn't tell me. And then at the end of December, I only received 85 euros, and I was like, what is going on? So that like backtracked everything, and then until March, I kind of got back on my feet, but I was just scrambling for money, and like there was a point where I only had like 20 euros, and I communicated with the rector, and they were like, "Oh yeah, just talk to your prof and all that stuff." And when I talked to her, she told me like, "Yeah, you can do social services aid with the school, but you have to wait until March." And it was January at the time, so I was like, like this isn't helpful. So yeah, it was like things like that happened, but I powered through it, and once like quarantine happened, everything started getting better because like, I mean, you can't leave, you can't spend money. I got to save my money, and yeah, I met more people. So it ended up being better than expected, but before it was like a solid 5. I could even go lower, but I'm humble, so.
Okay. So definitely, like, back to what you said before, everyone just needs to make sure that they have like a good 3, 4, 5 saved up, which is hard because, like, you had just graduated college in 2019, and the summer or the fall right after you went to France, so you had no time to save money.
I do recommend the program for people because, like, if you want to improve in your French, that is a perfect way to go. Because in my village, in my town, nobody spoke no English. Like, I had to speak. So in that sense, it was great. But if you can find a better French immersion program, I would do it.
Okay, so y'all heard what she said.
Right. Keep your options open at least. And if you want to do Tapif, you just look into the towns, look into where you're going to be placed, make sure you have your coin set up, and then go. I still think it's a great, experience to have, but keep your options open.
No, for sure. I feel like a lot of people love Tapif because it seems the easiest in terms of like the setup. Like you just apply, like you get your response, then you just go. But sometimes it seems like it's more valuable to maybe like get your TOEFL or something, and then maybe like teach at a private academy where that there's a little bit more financial security or
yes.
Well, okay, thank you. Good to know, because I was actually thinking about doing the program because I also studied French, and I just ended up like not doing it because I have, just because I was like, do I want to live in France? But looking back, I'm thinking that Tapif seems really, really cool, but the private route seems more like it seems like it has more security. So
yes, yeah, exactly, and you get more money too.
Yeah.
This is great, yeah, because that 785 was whoa, child.
Yeah, no, not fun.
Right.
Well, thank you for joining us, Raphaella. Yeah, you're amazing. I'm gonna put all her info below and put more resources for Tapif. I think you did a blog or a couple.
Yes, I did.
Okay, so we'll definitely link those. Yes.
My God, this is baby slut energy because look at this, my teeth.